transformed into a war zone. Fires erupted in busy downtown intersections. Flames shot 30 feet into the air as people dangled from light poles. While police in full force struggled to contain the crowd, the city's mayor described the participants as hooligans.
Alright guys, so Islanders fan in Connecticut here.
Got a little message for our former boy John Tavares.
Each NHL fanbase has their own dramas. For the Vancouver Canucks, it was the 1994 and 2011 Game 7 losses. For Montreal, it was the departure of Patrick Roy, only for him to go to the Avalanche where he would take over the league. For Toronto, basically everything that has taken place from 1968 up until today. For me, it's Mitch Marner doing the gritty. And for Edmonton, it was the departure of Wayne Gretzky. For over a decade, the Oilers faithful became used to complete and utter domination. Player awards, Stanley Cups. Even after the infamous Wayne Gretzky trade, the Oilers would win another cup led by Messier and Jari Kurri.
The Edmonton Oilers, Stanley Cup champions 1990.
But the good times had to come to an end at some point, because after making it to the Cup Finals 6 times in an 8-year span, where they would take home 5 Stanley Cups, the Oilers would find themselves at the bottom of the standings. But you know what? This was to be expected. When you dominate the entire league for over a decade, a rebuild is inevitable. But through drafting and developing, trades, free agency signings, this Edmonton team was gonna be back on top. It was only a matter of time. Except due to poor drafting, specifically the inability to draft and develop a true superstar, a player who would help bridge the gap between Wayne Gretzky and the next generation. The Edmonton Oilers were stuck in mediocrity. This fanbase was used to domination, and they weren't happy. And well, that was until 2006, because after missing the playoffs in 2004, after the Oilers became a shell of a team compared to the Wayne Gretzky era, the Oilers were now focused on finding a true superstar, and in the summer of 2005, they would do exactly that. As the Oilers would push all their chips in the table to acquire Chris Pronger. There's nothing in the game he cannot do. There's nothing in the game that he cannot excel at. In fact, from the 1950s up until today, only 2 defensemen have won an MVP trophy, Bobby Orr and Chris Pronger, as this trade had the potential to be franchise-altering for the Oilers. And when you consider that they would also acquire 2-time Selke winner Michael Pekka, yes, they didn't have that elite 100-point scorer, but they now had one of the top defensemen in the game, one of the top shutdown centers in the game. So combine this with the development of guys like Ales Hemsky and Sean Horkoff, the leadership of Ryan Smith, this team might just have a chance to compete for a cup. Or did they? I've loved Vessi shoes long before I was paid to wear them. I didn't do it to be cool, that was just a bonus. I did it because we're in rainy season. I did it because I love going camping, hanging out on the beach with my friends and family. And Vessi makes the perfect shoe for any occasion and any weather. I wear Vessi because I despise wet socks. And after wearing their shoes, that part of my life is history. Add in the fact that they make high quality shoes and clothing that looks amazing. I mean, come on, look at this jacket. I am in love. So it was a no-brainer for me to wear Vessi to promote their brand new Stormburst low top shoes, which have now received nearly 250 flawless reviews. It was a no-brainer for me to wear Vessi. So if you want to elevate your spring and summer and stand up and fight against wet socks, click my link down below or scan this QR code to automatically receive 15% off your next order. To set the stage heading into the 05-06 season, the NHL was fresh off an 82-game lockout, so fans were chomping at the bit for hockey to come back, as this sentiment increases tenfold for a place like Edmonton, where hockey is a religion. So the combination of frustration rooted from the lockout, the fact that Edmonton had been horrible since the Gretzky era, and the newfound excitement of the Pronger trade meant that a tremendous amount of nervous tension was starting to brew. And well, the Edmonton Oilers would faceplant out of the gate, because after starting the season with a 3-7 record, things were looking grim. However, the team started to gain momentum, but it was obvious that this roster lacked in several departments: scoring depth, defensive depth, and goaltending. Thus, heading into the trade deadline, Edmonton would make 3 key trades. They would acquire Sergei Samsonov, who would bolster their scoring depth, Spacek, who would bring their defense to another level, but most importantly, they would acquire Dwayne Roloson.
Here's a pass in front, clearing. Oh, what a save by Roloson!
And by the end of the season, the Edmonton Oilers were the last team in the Western Conference to secure a playoff spot, as the acquisition of Roloson would single-handedly save the Oilers' season. But in the first round, Edmonton would match up against a juggernaut, as the Detroit Red Wings, led by Steve Yzerman, Lidstrom, Datsuk, Zetterberg, Chris Chelios, had just finished their season with one of the best records in NHL history, where they would lose Game 1.
Getting chased inside the corner. He scores! And the Red Wings win here in the second overtime.
Except,
The NHL's best team this season is on the brink of elimination. The Red Wings, facing their 3rd straight early playoff exit. The Edmonton Oilers are 1 game from winning their first playoff series in 8 years. Deep into the goal line, Yzerman in front, rebound, and Lang polishes it off. And just like that, it's 2-0 Detroit. Ryan Smith right through the crease. Jared Stoll, rebound. Pisani. He left the ice. Pekka in on goal. Loose puck. And it's whistled as Manny Legacy was driven right through the net. Jason Smith. Smith to Pisani. Waiting on goal. He scores. Maltby keeps it in. His shot right on it. The goal goes. Rebound. Franson scores for Detroit. Dan Cleary gets 2 minutes for interference with 5:36 to go. Samsonov now comes to the faceoff circle, plays it in front of bouncing puck, rebound! Oh, that golden opportunity! Hensky scores! The zone, Hensky leaves it for Samsonov. Samsonov, Hensky, he scores! The Edmonton Oilers have won a playoff series for the first time in 8 years.
the Oilers would shockingly win the next 4 of 5 games. And at this point, they were like, holy shit. If we can beat the best team in the league, we can beat anyone.
Series was the springboard for our success in the playoffs. Mentally believing that we can do it.
In round 2, it did not get easier, as they were matched up against the regular season MVP Jumbo Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, who would score 7 goals in 5 games in the first round, where Edmonton would lose the first 2 games.
We were shocked the way, the difference in the 2 series, and we're down 2-0 pretty quick.
And in game 3, things were not looking good. Down by a goal midway into the 3rd, if they lost this game, there would be basically no hope of a comeback. But my goodness, Raffi Torres would tie the game.
Torres shoots, he scores!
In overtime, Dwayne Roloson, who saved the regular season, would save this playoff series by robbing Jonathan Chichu.
As Chichu takes the pass, he shoots. Oh, what a save by Roloson!
And in triple overtime,
Horkoff scores! Horkoff scores!
Sean Horkoff would score the game winner.
And it was big for us. I mean, that made the series 2-1, and it gave us a chance to get back in that series. And obviously, to go down 3-0 against a team like that would have made it pretty tough for us.
As Edmonton would win the next 3 games, they would make it to the conference finals. Things would take a turn for the worse, even though they were up 2-0 in the series. More than half their team caught the flu. And considering they were going against Teemu Selanne, who was on his redemption tour, Hall of Fame defenseman Scott Niedermayer, this was trouble. Yet, they would go on to win the series in 5. And out of all players,
Well, the pressure was applied and they kept in there fighting away.
Raffi freaking Torres would score the series-winning goal, as this team would go against all odds. A team who barely made it into the playoffs, only to defeat 3 of the greatest teams in the league. This run was truly a spectacle, but this spectacle would also cause mass hysteria, following their Game 5 win that cemented their finals appearance. 30,000 fans would meet in the street of White Ave to celebrate the victory. But here's the thing, when you have 30,000 Oilers fans, fueled with passion from an absurd season, fueled by nostalgia of the 80s dynasty, most importantly, fueled by countless cheap beers, many fans would account that all the liquor stores in the area literally sold out of all their liquor. 30,000 Oilers fans consumed all the liquor in downtown Edmonton, and this of course would lead to chaos.
Transformed into a war zone. Fires erupted in busy downtown intersections. Flames shot 30 feet into the air as people dangled from light poles. While police in full force struggled to contain the crowd, the city's mayor described the participants as hooligans.
Edmonton would have to make over 100 arrests, and I of course disavow these actions. Why would anyone feel the need to light a massive bonfire in a busy street? But I will say, this playoff run truly encapsulated not only the Oilers' frustration of being a dumpster since the Gretzky era, but it would truly encapsulate the frustration of every Canadian hockey fan. The fact that since Gary Bettman was hired, that no Canadian team has won a cup. And now in the Stanley Cup Finals, Edmonton will go against a juggernaut of a Carolina Hurricanes team. Rob Brind'Amour, Eric Stahl coming off a 100-point season, 21-year-old Cam Ward, who grew up just outside of Edmonton, would break out and steal the starting role. This team had high-end scoring, depth scoring, defense, elite goaltending, and in Game 1, the Oilers came out swinging. Midway into the second, we would see one of the craziest Stanley Cup Finals strategies I have ever seen. A Canes player would put his hand over the puck. Therefore, we would see a Stanley Cup Finals penalty shot.
Finally, they call the play. A penalty shot. That's what it is. He's pointing. That's Mick McGough.
And if you weren't aware, NHL goalies have a book on every NHL player, especially in the playoffs, as they know their shooting tendencies, their spots, what they'll do on a breakaway. But instead of setting out, Ales Hemsky for the shot, Craig McTavish would choose Chris Pronger. Out of all the players on Edmonton, I guarantee you that Carolina didn't do much research on a 6'6" defenseman on a breakaway.
Scores! Well, good night, nurse. Craig McTavish made the call.
6 minutes later, the Oilers would make it 3-0. However, the Canes would come back with 4 straight goals.
Wait, take the shot. Here it comes. Heads for the net. Pass in front. Right, stop. Rebound. Score. It's Williams. In. Scores. Justin Williams, a breakaway. A shorthanded goal.
Ales Hemsky would tie up the game at 4-4.
Scores. What a beautiful goal by Hemsky to tie the game. A power play goal.
But we would see the incident. Now, you can say that Chris Pronger was the reason why they made it this far. You can say it was the heroics of depth scoring in big moments, but after watching back these playoffs, it was Dwayne Roloson. A 36-year-old Roloson not only saved the regular season, but he had one of the greatest playoff runs by a goalie in NHL history. And with 6 minutes left in the game, it would happen.
He goes, a nice pass, gets in there, and Ladd was nailed.
As Ladd was run into the net by Bergeron and Roloson's on his stomach in the crease. This is bad news for the Oilers.
Andrew Ladd was driving to the net, where he bobbles the puck at the last second, and now in a hunched over position, he would take a direct body check from Bergeron, where he would collide with Roloson, where Roloson would fall and sprain his MCL. And just like that, the backbone of this team was gone.
Conklin has never played an NHL playoff game.
And to make matters worse, Ty Conklin, who would replace Roloson in this game, would soon bobble the puck behind the net, and Carolina would score the game winner.
They have them over, empty net. Oh my goodness! A giveaway, and Brind'Amour have the empty net.
In the next game, Carolina would lay a beating on the Oilers with a 5-0 score. This series was over. Or was it? As this Oilers team was resilient, but they would go on to win the next 3 of 4 games. In Game 5, Fernando Pisani would score a shorthanded OT winner.
Here's a break. It is Pisani scores! A shorthanded goal for Pisani!
However, by Game 7, Cam Ward would take over the series. The irony of the situation is absurd. The Oilers lose their goalie, and a kid who grew up in Edmonton would take over the Canes' net and win the playoff MVP trophy. But you know, it's okay. This is just the beginning of something special. Well, actually no. The Oilers would receive shocking news. Chris Pronger wanted out of Edmonton, and even though he just signed an extension, the Oilers would respect the trade request and trade him to the Ducks. After this news, much of Edmonton's depth and stars would begin to leave. This team went from the Stanley Cup Final 2. Imploding, where they would go on to missing the next 10 straight years of playoffs. That was until the 2015 NHL draft, where they would draft a guy named McDavid. As Pronger leaving this team, this playoff run would single-handedly change NHL history. What would have happened if they win? Do their star players stay? Does Edmonton continue to build year after year, where they never get a chance to draft McDavid? I guess we'll never know. Thank you to Vessi for sponsoring today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.